Hi, I'm Byron Stewart, an adjunct lecturer at Northwestern University's McCormick School of Engineering. I've designed and co-teach two courses, Engineering Improv 1 and 2 for undergraduate engineering students. I am also a research communication instructor for Northwestern's Research Communication Training Program, where I use my theater background as an actor and director to help graduate students, postdocs, and faculty take command of the stage and have a presence. I hope you've had a chance to read and try the ABT exercise from Randy Olson's Houston, We Have a Narrative. If you haven't, or even if you have read it, I'm going to give you my take on the highlights and how to use it. I've been using this approach to teach elevator pitches to graduate students and applying the PRES model from the earlier video to practice pitches. Our goal is to craft a concise and easy-to-follow elevator pitch or short spoken piece about your research. In an elevator pitch, you want to summarize who you are, what you do, and why it's relevant to your audience. Quick, 30 seconds, the time it takes to ride an elevator, and to customize the level of technical detail to your audience. The goal of an elevator pitch is to advance the conversation to the next step. Get the other person to say, "That's interesting, tell me more," aka an explainer. Randy Olson was a tenured professor of marine biology before moving to Hollywood and entering film school. I like Randy Olson's ABT approach because he has a film theater and storytelling background as I do, and he understands the power of a narrative structure. The first step in creating your ABT is audience analysis. Who are they? What do they do? What is their level of technical knowledge? What do they like? What keeps them up at night? Do you have anything in common? What insights can you provide that would be useful to them? We reviewed thinking about your audience in Module 4, and an earlier video explored the different contexts in which strategic communications arise. Each has different audience and characteristics. Here's an example of an ABT I might use. Postdocs advance society, and they're very passionate about their research. But they're not always the most comfortable communicating what they do, how they do it, and why people should care in high-stakes situations. Therefore, I help postdocs communicate their research clearly and in a way that resonates with the intended audience. As you may remember from the ABT reading, an informational ABT, or an I-ABT, is a first version where you don't worry about being concise. Your interest is to include all the compelling information. This produces a massively long, clunky sentence that you will hopefully would never speak in public. Here's an example that Olson uses. In my lab, we model moderate sleep apnea in rats with a chronic intermittent hypoxia protocol in order to investigate the physiological mechanisms of sustained diurnal blood pressure. But we have realized the importance of molecular pathways within the central nervous system contributing towards blood pressure. Therefore, we have begun exploring novel molecular pathways to develop as a result of our sleep apnea model. That's a mouthful, and you don't want to be caught saying all that at a party if someone asks you, "What do you do?" The next step of ABT is a conversational, or CABT, where we go to the other end of the range, creating an ABT that takes concision to its extreme. It reveals the core argument being made. The first challenge is creating the CABT. It's to strip the sentence of all the compelling information and context. It's going to read as funny, but this is what you want to uncover beneath all the words of the I-ABT. Here's the example Olson uses. We were looking at one way, but realized there's another way, therefore we're looking at that way. The first thing you gain from this exercise is the realization of what it is at the very core you are saying. This is what you can say when someone asks you, "What exactly are you trying to say?" The core of the story. Under the CABT, Olson includes character relatability and narrative relatability. I mentioned both in an earlier video about the PRES model in this module. As you may remember, character relatability is making your story your presentation relatable to your audience. Olson recommends finding some way to shape what you have to say into a form that your audience can relate to. The example he gives is if you're speaking to a group of golfers about the physics of spaceflight, see if you can present some of the challenges in terms of the physics of golf. Perhaps you're speaking to clinicians about your basic research, so you talk about the impact of disease prevention and healthcare. Anything you can insert that they will recognize from their world will make it easier for them to relate to what you have to say. Using character or audience material that bears direct similarity to their world. If possible, do research on the person or people you'll be meeting with and put that info to use. Olson also talks about narrative relatability. Say you're speaking to a group of people who have absolutely no background or interest in your field. You might still connect with some of them for at least a moment if you have a narrative structure they can recognize and relate to. Suppose you begin by saying, I'm trying to fix this piece of equipment in my lab. Like the time my car was making that noise that the mechanic couldn't trace, so I'm taking it apart and testing each piece. For that one instant, that person will be thinking she's got something in common with you. You will have opened a channel of communication by offering something relatable. The keeper ABT, or KABT, is your finished product. The length will be somewhere between the long IABT and the very short CABT. You get to it by adding back some of the information you stripped out while maintaining a balance between retaining concision and making it compelling. Here's the example Olson uses to answer the question, so what sort of research do you do? Well, thanks for asking. I study sleep apnea. Yeah, I know, kind of weird. In my lab, we actually use rats as a model system, and for a while, we've been focused on the physiological mechanisms as the controls. But recently, we've realized the real answers are probably at the molecular level, in the central nervous system. So now, we're shifting directions and looking at the molecular pathways. And that's my story, a shift from the physiological to molecular levels. It's simple, clear, it may arouse your audience interest. That's the power of the narrative. Here are some alternatives to the words and, but, therefore. The next step is to begin your ABT writing exercise. Write an ABT about your research or a project you are engaged in to 3 different audiences of your choosing in contexts you might encounter.